my name is Bronwen Burch. I'm a member of M2IP's Spark group, and today I'm so excited to be joined by Carter Tholl, and we're going to talk about a few different things. Carter, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I have been in Wichita since 2015. I moved here to go to grad school at Wichita State and got my master's degree in opera performance. And since then, I've been doing a lot of teaching in the Wichita area privately at Southwestern College in Winfield, at Bethany College in Lindsborg, and Butler Community College. So bing, bang, boom. And I've done, a fair amount of performing around town, at Roxy's downtown, Music Theater Wichita, Wichita Grand Opera, Opera Kansas. So keeping busy.
I will get right into the questions then.
Sure.
So, first off, when did you know that you wanted performing and specifically vocal music and theater to be your job?
Yeah, so probably in high school, I was a theater kid, I guess you could say, very into choir, also very into orchestra. I played violin growing up, and my brother was a professional musician, so it didn't seem like such a big leap. He had gone to school for classical violin, and I sort of had a similar debate of, well, am I going to be a violinist, because I was a pretty competitive violinist at the time, or am I going to become a singer? And the choice between getting to be on stage with lots of friends and talking a lot versus being alone in the practice room, practicing the violin by myself, kind of made that decision for me. So I would say, yeah, in high school, those are obviously such formative years for everyone, but doing, community theater and doing high school plays and choir concerts and stuff like that.
So I think I've already got a little bit of an answer to this given how you answered your last question, but were you always confident in your career choice?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely never regretted my career choice. I think that it's really important for anyone who's considering this as a career to know that there are lots of definitions of success. And I think that everybody kind of has to craft the life that is going to be best for them, whether that means moving to New York and really hustling with, Broadway dreams, or moving to LA and, going for it to be a movie star or in comedy or something like that, or staying in Wichita and, building kind of all areas of your life while still having performing and music at the forefront. So yeah, I've been very happy so far.
So I know a lot of teenagers who want to go to school for theater and make a living that way. What words of wisdom would you have for students who might be worried about the practicality of that decision, or they might have parents who are?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to go to school where you can go to school for cheap, if and at all possible. Like, I think state schools are a great option. Somewhere like Butler Community College is a great option, and full disclosure, I work there, but where you can, there's very, very high likelihood to get music scholarships, and I think, as I was saying before, knowing that everybody has to find their own definition of success. And it's not like, oh, well, if you're not a lead on Broadway, then your undergrad BFA in music theater is wasted or anything like that. I think it's really important to get a well-rounded education. And if you have an undergraduate degree, if you are a studious person, if you are eager for knowledge and are a lifelong learner, there are so many things you can do with an undergraduate degree in music theater, in voice, whether or not that is a professional performing career. My parents, who are very, very supportive of my performing career, all along the way always said, well, you can always go to law school. And I think they still think, well, she could, if she decides this isn't working for her, she could always go to law school. So I think that it isn't as big a risk as people think it is to go and get a degree in the performing arts and that there's so many things beyond just specifically performing that you can do with that degree.
Good advice. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
On a similar note, how realistic is it to expect to support yourself doing musical theater in a place like Wichita? Is it something that's likely to happen within 5 years or so of completing an undergrad program, or will you have a better chance if you find another more stable job, like, say, going to law school or anything else, to support yourself and allow you to keep performing just for the love of it?
Yeah, I think we're definitely in like the era of the side hustle. Yeah, I don't think that there's hardly anyone specifically in a town like Wichita who 100% of their income is from performing. 100% of my income is not from performing. I have always taught, had various other kind of day job things that I've done in addition to performing that have supported my ability to perform. If I were only reliant on the paychecks I get from gigs, I'd be living a very different life with a much higher level of stress, I think. And so, it does not, in my opinion, it does not take away, if you're not living this starving artist, I can only, live in a hovel and all I can spend my time on is my art and my craft. That isn't necessarily the only way to go about it. It's certainly not the way I go about it. But I do think if we're specifically talking about making a living, then being open to that idea that you can have that fulfilling part of your life, that performance side, while also having not necessarily some, soul sucking job that you absolutely hate that you just do to be able to, free up your time for performing, but you can have a coordinated career in arts administration, in, I do a lot of teaching, or in something completely different. You bake cakes and you also perform. You work at the zoo and you also perform. I just think that there are so many possibilities, and not even just for performers. It seems like every career these days, people have a side hustle as well that they do with that. So I think just as long as you're open to that idea, as I said again, that there's so many different definitions of success, and open to finding those dual income streams and coordinating career that can work together. In that case, then making a living in Wichita and performing is, I think, very doable.
Often to get a role or a job in a show or a concert or something like that, you need to already have at least some experience under your belt. But if you're trying to build up that baseline of experience in the first place, where do you start with that?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, especially for young people like you who are at the forefront of it all. I think exactly what you're doing with MTYP is the right kind of thing to be doing. Whether it's community theater, community choirs, things with your school choir, the school musical, things like that, are all really helpful. It is true that it's maybe hard for someone to take a chance, so to speak, on someone that doesn't have as much on their resume. But I think that there are lots of local groups who are just waiting for someone who is eager and excited and ready to learn and happy to be there. And they welcome someone with that kind of attitude and eagerness to learn. And so from that standpoint, it's very easy to get started, right? And as long as you're open to working with different kinds of groups, and when you're young, doing it for free. When you are just starting out, and of course nobody gets paid to be in their school musical, and that's okay. and taking things as learning experiences, then you have a little bit of both on your resume, but also your own knowledge base, so that when you're walking into that very first paying gig, it's not, you know what's expected of you.
Would you say that finding jobs performing became easier as you got more experience and connections in that field? And in what other ways has that experience maybe changed from when you were an undergrad student to now after you've earned your master's and you've been working here in the Wichita area for several years now?
Yeah, so I think wherever you are, whether it's Wichita or another kind of medium city, um, establishing yourself, yes, is the question, does it get easier? Yes. I think the more you do within whatever community you're in, the kind of easier it gets, because you work with so-and-so in this production, and then when you go on to this production, oh, they saw you there on stage for this one. And I think along with that, just making sure that every time you're performing, whether it's for your school musical or your community theater production, that you are bringing your best self to it. That even though maybe for those very first few things you're doing, you're not getting paid, you're still treating it like it's your job. You're still coming with like the utmost professionalism and preparedness. And that is what's gonna help you later, because though your good reputation will follow you just as easily as a poor reputation will follow you. So I think as long as you are coming in, I'm sort of repeating myself, but ready, eager to learn, and as prepared as you can be, then I think the more ingrained you get into whatever community you're a part of, the easier it does get, yeah.
I think those are definitely good things to repeat, certainly. What advice would you give a young person trying to establish themselves as a working actor somewhere like Wichita?
Yeah, so I think just as I said before, the exact kind of thing that's happening with MTYP, getting involved in your local community theater, anything with your school, certainly if you are going to college for performing arts, there's going to be lots of opportunities for you there. And I think also starting to make some of your own opportunities. If there's not a show with a role that's perfect for you, maybe that's the time to mount something of your own, or get with a writing partner and come up with something. If there's nothing that really features the kind of role you want to play, maybe write something with that kind of role in mind. You know, I have a group called Wichita Baroque, which is definitely more on the classical music side, you know, as opposed to the theater performing side. But you know, when I established that group, I was just really hoping that some of these local groups would program some Bach, and then maybe when they program some Bach, they'd hire me to sing it. And through my work with Wichita Baroque, I sort of, when I established the company, I sort of thought, well, if I can just sort of take out the middleman, I'll have a little bit of an edge there. So I think, yeah, taking advantage of what's already there, and then if you're finding that what isn't there isn't working for you, trying to establish some of it on your own. And we have so many resources for that now. Obviously, especially with this pandemic year, we've had to get very creative with how we continue our lives as performers and continue projects and create new projects. And so I think kind of just knowing that there's no limit, and you don't have to be beholden to what's already on offer of the, you know, Wichita theater season. If there isn't a spot for you there, that maybe it's time to make your own spot. Yeah.
Good advice. All right, so that concludes the questions. That was so much fun. Hopefully that was some good advice for anyone watching. Carter, where can we look forward to seeing you next?
Yeah, so I have a couple of things coming up on the Music Theater Wichita season. In June, I will be in the family musical Mirette. I'm playing a ballerina named Gabby, and that is June 16th through 20th, and that's in the Convention Center of Century 2. And then I will also be singing on the 4th of July concert, which is Red, White, and Broadway, and that'll be at the amphitheater out in Andover. So great things to come and see this summer.
All right, well, those sound like those will be great, and we'll all be excited to see you there. Carter, thank you so much for joining us. This was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Super. Thanks, Bronwen. It was nice to see you.
You too.